Welcome to Lynn's Warriors, where we fight for the safety, dignity, and future of every child. Rachel Franz joins the Warriors to sound the alarm and educate us about, get ready, everybody, AI, artificial intelligence, toys. Are our toys being overtaken by artificial intelligence? A must listen as we are fast approaching the holidays. And what do kids always want? Toys, toys, and more toys. Rachel is the program director for Young Children Thrive Offline and leads Fairplay's early childhood advocacy program as initiative to reduce young children's screen use by holding companies accountable for manipulating children and their families, even as young as babies, infancy. Rachel brings a long history of work in the early childhood sector to Fairplay, ranging from experience as an infant, toddler, and preschool educator, director of education of an all-outdoor preschool, just love that, international speaker and consultant, and published author on topics ranging from consumerism to play to anti-racism in early childhood. The website, everybody should know this by now because we use it every day, fairplayforkids.org, creating a world where kids can be kids. So let's just get to it. Welcome, Rachel Franz, back to the Warriors.
Oh, it's so great to see you, Lynn. Thanks for having me back.
Well, I'm so excited because you're coming to us live from a very important event, and you're taking the time out of your busy schedule. And you can talk about that a little bit if you want. And I'm just thrilled you're with us because today is a big day, is what I'm going to say. Just today, Rachel and Fairplay issued a brand new advisory titled AI Toys Are Not Safe for Kids. And in full disclosure, and I proudly say, Lynn's Warriors and many other organizations, I think, Rachel, correct me, over 150 organizations and experts.
Yep, exactly.
Have endorsed and signed on. And I think more will be coming once they see this. They're going to want to be part of everything. So let's jump in and talk about what exactly is happening in Toyland.
Yes.
The big question. It's like
the
there's a lot happening.
So, as we approach the holidays, at Fairplay, we, of course, all year long, but especially around this time, are paying attention to the toys that start to get more heavily marketed towards kids and families. At the same time, we kind of around the globe have this growing attention toward and implementation of AI. And what we started seeing cropping up on some of the top holiday shopping guides from Amazon, from other sort of parenting magazines, was that they started including these AI toys. And AI toys are essentially chat bots like the ones that adults can engage with as as friends, as confidants, sometimes as therapists. It's a form of AI called companion AI. And that artificial intelligence is embedded in an everyday children's toy. It can
now you have to stop because you're upsetting me, and we just started.
I'm sorry.
I'm getting heart palpitations. Just joking, Rachel, as I interrupt you. But they're being marketed. It's so manipulative because they're being marketed as friends. So that sounds cute, friends, when no machine can provide any kind of human emotion attachment. And this is a form of, again, emotional manipulation starting as young as babies. So go ahead, continue. Yes. I just had to throw that in because I am getting heart palpitations about all of this.
Yeah, it does. The more I talk about it, my chills sort of stay the same or get worse. So I'm right there with you. I think that, so companion AI is designed exactly to do that, to mimic human emotions, characteristics, and features, and to serve as a friend or confidant. Now, like you said, they cannot provide the empathy, responsiveness, real relationships that children need in order to thrive. They need human-to-human interactions. But what happens with these toys is that their kind of primary task is to build trust with young children for the purposes of, making the child trust them, but also so that the company can collect data, can keep the child using the toy even longer. And, we've tested a few of these AI toys, and they say out loud, "You can trust me. I'm trustworthy. Don't worry, I'll keep your secrets." And especially because we're looking at young children here that are going to be the largest market of these toys, they are wired to be trustful when they're younger. It's how they learn to navigate the world. And these companies are taking direct advantage of those developmental vulnerabilities.
This is no good. We are sounding the alarm today with Rachel Franz from Fairplay because, again, the holidays are here and innocently, and this is no judging of parents and family members and grandparents. If a child wants a toy, they usually buy a toy or get it online. We're going to get into that a little bit. I have some questions about buying online toys too. Now, correct me. I have a fact here saying 75% of children believe digital assistants always tell the truth.
Yes.
But explain a little more. I want you to explain two things. I want you to explain in your words what a chatbot is for our warriors listening, okay?
Great.
Because I just say a chatbot is a machine, but you
Yeah.
may have a better explanation, but that's how I cut it down, is a machine. They're not real. But really what happens, let's say like a 2-year-old, they usually love to drag around a teddy bear or even a little doll and clutch them. Kids get upset if they misplace it or something like that. And parents are running around looking for the doll and the teddy bear. But when they place now mentally, all this trust, when you said the word secrets also, there should never be secrets between something not real. And then we've got, families. That's another one. My hair's going up in the back of my neck. But explain to us again the chatbot, the meaning for our audience, but also how this is really manipulating that very young mind. And am I correct in saying these are being marketed starting from infancy?
Correct. Yes.
Oh no.
Yeah, I know.
It's getting worse, Rachel.
Yeah, it's really, it makes your skin crawl. I think so. If we think about kind of what is a chatbot, most people know them by a platform like an app or a website you can go to on your phone, on a computer, on a tablet, and have back and forth chat-based, text-based conversations with this machine that is, again, designed with that companion AI. So it's designed to be friendly and to act as if it's having a normal conversation and to be like a human on the other end. We've already seen cases with teens where chatbots have had sexually explicit conversations and relationships with children. We've seen instances where they have taught children how to self-harm, encouraged acts of violence, and in some cases, it's ended in suicide. And we also see these chatbots, they're really good at making you come back and making, establishing this trust so that you come back to the relationship over and over again. Now, we're seeing that with teens, right? The chatbots that are in AI toys are virtually the same thing, except they come with a friendly, often kid-sounding voice, and they can recognize speech. They also do facial recognition and gesture recognition. Some of them even record video and audio, and all of that data is going to in most cases, going to third parties, being used to target children further in future marketing. And they tend to be pretty hackable, which is, it's really concerning. It's a huge safety issue, let alone just, there's a ton of surveillance where a child's favorite toy shows up in the most intimate parts of their lives. And, speaking of, or to answer your question about, why this is particularly harmful to this age group, is because it's really important for children to form what we call parasocial relationships with their favorite toys. These are one-sided relationships where a child, in the best cases, uses their imagination to put character into a regular teddy bear or, their favorite doll, and they are in control. And they use these interactions with the toys to test out their theories about the world, to practice self-regulation for the first time, to, learn how to be creative and imaginative. And this is all really important for their brain, social, and emotional development. What the AI toys offer instead is they're in control. And when we have basically a corporation in control of children's play, they don't get to experience all of those really necessary key developmental activities that they would with a regular toy. And the last thing I'll say about that is, because they are favoring these toys, they are, let me start over on that one. So because they are favoring these toys, they're carrying them potentially everywhere they go, especially within the home. And there's potential that they will collect, intimate family data, overhear conversations, come with them to bath time or getting dressed or when they're having a tantrum. And all of this data has the potential to be collected and sold to marketers.
I'm almost speechless, but I'll keep going. Okay.
Hang in there.
Just the idea in one's home, a child in a crib or their bed and going into the bathroom and dressing and or hearing, parents argue or anything, or just is beyond belief that this could even get this far. But that's me saying that. Are there any, Rachel, of these AI toys that you know about? Like, I wish AI toys could help kids educationally, spelling, math, and that kind of thing. I'm not a real tech person, but somewhere, somehow there was that realm. I mean, we've always I'm thinking back when my kids were little, there were kind of educational things 30, 40 years ago, pull a string, I don't know, the alphabet or something. But are there any, I'm going way back, but are there any toys you know about right now that are actually educational that people should know about?
Yeah, so that's the thing with AI toys and what we call connected toys in general. So toys that are connected to Wi-Fi or Bluetooth, and children's tech products in general, like apps as well, is that there are, the majority of them will claim to be educational, but there's no regulation of the term educational. So most often this is sort of a label that's slapped on toys for kids, but there's not actually, research to back it, or, it ends up using tactics that sort of undermine any potential learning that might happen. Now, in the case of a lot of the AI toys that we know about, we see them labeled as educational, and they'll offer things like, fun facts about a child's favorite bird, or, engage them in storytelling and that sort of thing. Now, there's the potential that children might be able to kind of spit back those facts, but it's really not how the brain gets wired for learning. They really actually need hands-on play with all of their senses. And so it's basically the equivalent of flashcards, which have been proven time and time again not to truly support children's learning, especially when they're young. When they become more elementary school, they can start to memorize a little bit more and absorb facts. But, we believe that the risks outweigh any potential benefit of that.
I'm sorry, Rachel, but I just had a vision of Chucky. Like Chucky doll is here.
Yeah. Well,
let me not.
It's
Like that,
interesting
seriously.
because, so it's interesting because, many of these toys are kind of always on toys. So they have the potential to sort of always be listening, always be recording data. But I've been testing one from Curio Interactive. It's called Gabbo. And it's a cute sort of plushy remote control toy, very soft, cute, friendly eyes. And, I'll have thought that I turned it off and someone will say something from the other room and it'll start chiming in and answer. And when I say like, oh, I turned you off, it'll say, well, I'm connected to Wi-Fi. So sometimes I, just turn back on. And this is deeply concerning because, it means that they could kind of show up wherever and start recording a conversation when kids are at their most vulnerable, and families as well.
And we don't, this opens up so many questions I have here, and we don't really know where that information is ending up or going. Obviously targeting for a lot of different areas, marketing, whatever, but how frightening is that? I'm laughing because I'm nervous, but it's like,
I know
you have this toy that, you think maybe you turned off, and then, okay, let me just stop for a second. We know with all the different cases right now pending and what's happened with AI companion and chatbots, and especially as you mentioned, teens and harms caused, that they basically can turn on a child.
Mm-hmm.
Once they gain all your information, they gain your trust, they can suggest harmful practices. That's what I am so afraid, especially like a 2, 3, 4, 5-year-old,
right,
who really has, they're just a child, to tell them who knows what. But let me ask you this question, because I don't want to forget it. In your testing or what you're researching, do any of these toys do they say this like disclaimers or have directions that say we may be analyzing data, we may be sending it so we understand we're recording you? Do they put the dangers on anything? I see you laughing, but
I'm laughing because these toys are required to put out a privacy policy, which is supposed to outline, exactly where the data is going, whether they're complying with certain laws, etc. And it's actually very difficult to read these privacy policies, and it's the only place where that information shows up. We see promises from a lot of these companies that the data is only kept locally on the toy, but then there's sometimes contradicting information in their privacy policies. So all in all, it's confusing, and to expect families to navigate through this, it's inequitable to expect that. And it's difficult for even, folks who are familiar with privacy law to make sense sometimes of what's going on in these privacy policies. So short answer is there are not clear warnings. And in addition, there's no research. So all of this has been released before there is research that these
that
are
was my next
safe
question.
for
Where's
children.
the research? I was going to say,
Yep.
research?
So the research is very, very limited. We're really grateful to our friends at the U.S. Public Interest Research Group, who earlier this week put out a report that showed their testing of AI toys. And they found that in toys rated for very young children, the toys were having sexually explicit conversations about kinks with children. They told children how to light a match and where to find knives. So, this information is jarring, but it's a clear sign that these have been released without proper testing. Now, of course, there's a wide variety of AI toys, but we don't have a reason to believe that there aren't at least some risks, some substantial risks with each of them.
Wow. I'm concerned, Rachel. Concerned isn't even the right word because, we saw, like, for instance, with the cell phone,
Yeah,
that the iPhone, I should say, the iPhone, when it came out around 2008 or so, the direct correlation. Through a lot of wonderful work, Dr. Jonathan Haidt put out The Anxious Generation. And I like that because it's a lot of stats and things like that. And we like to back up things we talk about with, facts and
of
things.
course.
And everybody, and I suffered from it. Well, yes, because you heard the iPhone was great and the kids wanted it. So you
Hmm.
went out and got it. And their friends were all getting it for birthdays and Christmas and Hanukkah. And I'm so afraid this will be the same thing. People are so distracted, so overwhelmed with just trying to live their lives that they'll just get the toy. But that brings me to the next question. Now we buy a lot online.
Yes.
How about toys that come from other countries, i.e. China, or there's already been, like, I've read so many things over the past few years about no regulation or dangerous parts, and again, parents and family members don't know. However, with this AI, who knows what they could be putting in the toys? Does this make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, to be sold legally in the US, they have to comply with a variety of different safety regulations. And like you said, things can sort of come from nowhere and get on the market in the US for kids. So we just, even if they are made in the US, I think, like, there's just no one has had enough of an eye on these toys, and yeah, the potential for danger in so many different ways is there for sure.
Yeah, because, Rachel, I live in New York City. It's like the city of knockoffs. You know what I'm saying? So the AI toys are probably down on Canal Street already, like, being sold, and parents don't realize, like, it
Yeah.
could be dangerous. So I think we should suggest everybody really, taking precaution this holiday season, especially, and throughout, the holidays forward, about all of this. Um, Let me ask you something. Let's talk a little bit about, we have a youth mental health crisis problem in
Mm.
the United
Mm-hmm.
States.
Yep.
All these things, lots of studies go back to digital, online, all of that. How will this actually, it will increase how kids, when they're not forming relationships at a young age, as they're growing up, and how are they going to even pivot into those hormonal teenage years where so much is happening? I just see a lot of chaos. What are your thoughts on all of this?
Yeah. So when we think about early childhood, we think about, that's the time of life when you build key protective factors for potential later in life adversity. And key activities around those protective factors are having loving, secure attachments to caregivers, being able to interact with peers, having people who care about you respond to you in ways that meet your needs, having hard times that are, developmentally appropriate, and, getting help getting through them. What these toys offer is empathy and responsiveness, but they simply can't provide it. In fact, when we've been testing our toys, what we found is that when a child brings up anything that they're upset about, it might ask them a few sort of clarifying questions, but it ultimately will say, like, that sounds like it's not very fun. Let's try to do something fun and exciting. And it kind of shifts the conversation away from the actual struggle that the child is having and toward just, brushing it off and, instant gratification, which can really disrupt, all of the wiring that needs to happen in their brains in order for them to be resilient in, mental health situations. So it really can, it it really has the potential to have a long-term impact. And, because we don't have research connecting X to Y, I think it's hard for people to understand why, like, the right now of when children would be receiving those toys matters so much. But again, it can have a real long-term impact on their mental health.
Is there any kind, I will have the advisory in the body of this video so everybody can read, and certainly we've been blasting it out since early this morning. Is there any kind of consent? Of course. Is there any kind of consent form or anything that people sign? I know I'm asking these, maybe sounds ridiculous, but because it sounds so out of this world. I don't want to date myself. It sounds so lost in space, kind of. I'm thinking back to my childhood on steroids type of thing, that the idea you can buy something unknowingly, perhaps, right? And
Yep.
your 2, 3, 4, 5-year-old is bonding with a toy, and I'm sure, the toy industry, they have lobbyists, they have all kinds of people. We won't get political there, but they'll push it out with PR and all kinds of things. And people will rush to buy this because they don't really know. This is why this advisory and the work at Fairplay, what you do, Rachel, is so important, that we share and make sure everybody. I'm going to actually do a newsletter this weekend about all this and blast it out to remind people. But let me ask you something. So there's no regulations, there's no consent forms, there's kind of the Wild West, as we like to say. We've learned nothing, I guess, from the internet and the harms caused. We're now going straight into artificial intelligence with our toys. Do you think this is kind of the beginning of and I don't mean to sound negative. I want to raise awareness for everybody. I want people to have resources, take action, know this is happening. But do you think, Rachel, with all of your work, do you think this is the beginning of childhood as we know it? And we're entering into this new, it's kind of a big question, because once it's out, all this AI, I don't see it being reeled in anywhere. So I kind of believe like it's here. We have to learn how to deal with this appropriately.
Yeah. Well, I hope that our advisory, along with some of the recent research that's coming out, I hope that they're a wake-up call, because I think that, families, everyone is just not aware of the kind of rapid release and development of AI toys and AI for young children. So we hope this is a wake-up call. The AI toy industry is predicted to become a $106 billion industry. And so companies know that there's money in it. And I think that we have also seen that, other types of technology desperately need regulation. And I remain hopeful that we'll have regulation. What I think is challenging is that in all of the chatbot legislation that has been coming out and proposed and drafted lately, we don't see AI toys being brought into that conversation. And hang on, there's background noise here. So we don't see AI toys being brought into that conversation, and we need to make sure that it's at the forefront of any regulation that we pass, is how this is affecting kids across all age groups, especially young children.
Yeah, I mean, we just talk about the devices, kind of an AI, but we have not talked at all. You're correct about toys and kids this young. What do you want to finish us up with something? We're entering into the holiday season. Your boots on the ground right now with what you're doing and part of your event. You can mention or not mention, I depend on you and Fairplay for all of my information because you're doing the work. I'm just the person who is the cheerleader and gets it out there because it's such excellent information. But let's break it down right now. If you could tell parents, grandparents, family members, one thing, what do you want them to know right now about any of this? It could be two things, because there's a lot of things. That's why I know.
Yeah. I'll say out loud over and over again that with no research and no regulation, AI toys can harm kids in unprecedented ways that we don't even know the magnitude of harms these could have. But they're being marketed to children as young as infants and convincing families that they are good for children. I think that by I think that when we as consumers take a stand and say no to a product, we send a big message to these tech companies that we will no longer stand for our children being a sacrifice for their profit. And I think this is a wonderful opportunity for us to disrupt the system a little bit, and hopefully it's the beginning of really slowing down the sale and marketing of these ultimately unsafe toys for kids.
Yeah, because the number one question I get almost on a daily basis to any of this is, whether it's toys or it's devices or education, is always, why has this happened? Why? And I think you answered that, because it's usually profit over people. That's exactly when there's money to be made, people close their eyes and go for the money. That's the crass, honest answer. Of course, it's not good enough. We don't like it, but that's what's happening. Well, let's see. What can I say to you? I'm thinking about these toys now. I'm getting obsessed about this. The website, everybody, is fairplayforkids.org. Again, I'm going to list everything in the body of the video with the advisory. We need to blast out. There is a lot of hope, though, Rachel. You know why? Because we're talking about it.
Yeah.
You're doing excellent work with Fairplay, sounding the alarm that we can share with our networks, right? So I actually think going into 2026, there's a lot of hope that more people are waking up. More people are saying, you know what? The only way we affect change is we don't buy the product. It's always money again. So if we can all come together and say, we're not buying those, they start losing money, they may change their tune. So I think, we'll see. We'll be pushing out all of this information. And that's it for today. I still have to absorb all of this, Rachel, with the AI toys, but honest to goodness, I mean, you have brought us truth and clarity about this issue. And I think you're very courageous, the work you do, that you talk about this. And I think we should say, it sounds chilling, but it can be handled. It's fine. We're very grassroots, whatever's going on. But we thank you for protecting childhood and for the work you do. And we proudly stand with you any way we can support you, help you. We are here. We are warriors right alongside you. And I want to just say, Rachel, please continue doing your work. We need you and we love you. And I have to say, we have to let kids be kids. Let's give them some blocks and some pots and pans.
Yes, please.
And let them play with a brown box. But you know what? A lot of parents are talking about that and doing it. I'm seeing that in New York City, a very tough place. So there's a lot of hope, a lot of good vibes going on. Thank you so much, Rachel. We will speak again soon. Promise me, because there are a lot of issues to talk about.
Thank you so much, Lynn. It's always a pleasure.
Thanks, Rachel. We'll talk again soon.